I don't know why you wouldn't want to just do nicotine pouches at that point. You don't have to smell like a cigarette. You get all of the exact same benefits and you save half of the money. Like
it really is crazy. And that's Pennsylvania. I mean, I can't imagine what they are in New York now.
Oh yeah, like the old price of a carton.
Yeah, yeah, a car payment.
Yeah, for a month probably for some people. Pack a day at $10 a pack is fucking a lot. $300
in New York. That's like probably. I bet they're $20 a pack.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
You'd be driving to Jersey or Maryland or Delaware to get them tax-free, whatever. Delaware, right? Delaware's got tax-free smokes.
Yeah. The duty-free stores and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I bet.
I remember that being a thing, taking vacations, and like we would pop into Delaware if we went to Jersey or something, and my mom wanted to get like 6 boxes of Cools or something dumb.
We did it going to Virginia Beach this year for alcohol though, and it was actually a lot cheaper.
Oh yeah, no joke.
Went and grabbed just a bunch of bottles and saved a lot of money. Hey,
that's the way. Hey.
Welcome back from the weekend, my friends.
We're terrible at this.
The MLB strategy show right here on the Stochastic YouTube channel. Yeah, what a I have a story that I'm debating whether or not I tell you on air.
Oh yeah. I forgot about this.
I'm not sure I can. Like for the protection of my own life. But dude,
you can't
I'm gonna
like this and not do it.
I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna think about it.
Can you give me any sort of generic, like this is what it involves?
An altercation.
With a man or a woman?
Both.
They're both, or it's two people?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know if it was like my pronouns are she, him type stuff.
No. Oh, I got you. No, there were two of them. Yeah.
Okay. Well, dude, you never know these times. You could have said they're they and it's one person. I can't wrap my head around any of it any longer.
It's a fair question. Yeah. Think about it. Anyway, happy to have you guys with us.
One they or many theys?
Hopefully you had multiple. Hopefully you guys had a great weekend. Yeah, we got a 6-game action today. Some really low totals too. I tweeted that earlier, but like you have a 2-7, a 2-9, a 3-3, some good pitchers. Only 6 games too. It's an odd one for sure, but not bad. You look at this, there really aren't any totals that are that high. Like, yeah, Minnesota against Dakota Hudson and a terrible bullpen, that's up there.
But even that's like, it's not high. It's high like relative to the slate and relative to Colorado, right. But it's still like basically 5 at best, which is ultra low in mid-June.
Like even the Yankees mid-4.
Yeah.
Also,
I mean, I only have one team above 4.5, and that's Minnesota.
Right. And some really pitcher-friendly parks. Like you have San Francisco going, you got T-Mobile and Seattle going today.
Yeah.
So
Kansas City
being another one, really suppresses homers. San Diego even. San Diego is not a super hitter-friendly park. So like
righty
I said,
power, that's it.
What's that?
San Diego, just righty power. That's it. Everything else is like super neutral.
Yeah. So we'll get into all that, but yeah, like I said, it's an odd one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's odd.
I like it. I'm glad they dropped that first game too. 7:40 slate lock is weird and late, but everything's starting in 2 hours. I'll take that.
I prefer it.
For sure.
Dropping it from like 4 to 3 would have been a problem, even 5 to 4. But dropping it from 7 to 6, I don't think is a big issue.
No, not at all.
Plus, like you said, it wasn't even a 6:50 game and then a bunch of 7:05, 7:10 starts. It's an hour after the Island game at 6:50.
That's better. It's helpful.
Anyway, glad to have you guys with us. Hey, if you don't mind, take 1 single second, tap that thumbs up. It goes a long way. Subscribe to the channel as well. Leave a comment down below. Jordan, are we going to fix this? The comments are still disabled every time we do this. What's going on with that? It was happening on the Odd Shopper channel. Everybody thought Eric was hiding from his picks.
Probably was.
Yeah, see if we can enable that.
He told me he was.
Yeah. leave a comment down below if it's there. And if you ever want to listen in podcast form, we got you guys covered for sure. Apple Podcast, Spotify. Matter of fact, if you click the link in the description, the link tree, you have access to everything we have outside of YouTube, like all of the social, all the podcasts, Twitter, Facebook, whatever. If you want to do that, you know where to find it. Muhammad, I agree. 7:40 is a perfect time. I like it.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Plus, I got like the kids winding down, throw them up and put the TV on and stuff, which is nice. All right. Let's get into it, man. I got the Sims run. You get your Sims run. We got all the tools pulled up. Top pitchers, top stacks, ownership, player projections.
I got all my shit run.
Take us a long way, as it always does. Man, pitching though. Like, you guys, I assume, have looked at the slate a little bit. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you're coming in blind, which is great. That's why we do this. Kind of take a first look at the slate, try and find some decent bets along the way. We're always trying to use Odd Shopper and all of the odds to give us a decent direction of where we're going. Sucked. Ryan Weathers got hurt on Friday too.
Yeah, almost immediately, right?
Sucked. He was fine too. Like, he was doing fine. But Dylan Cease, 39% top 2 pitcher probability. I know he's got some negative leverage, but man, this is one of those get right spots for Cease. Like, we can talk about how much we're getting to him or how much we're getting away from him and how much we're worried about the ownership on a slate like this. But I do just want to lay something out for you and get your thoughts. Right now, I'm getting 60 or 71% Dylan Cease.
I'm below you.
Okay. Well,
I have 70.
Okay. Dude, first of all, the A's, home and road splits are weird, especially for a team like this. They've been good at home. They're bottom 3 on the road. They have the highest K rate on the road. Decent against lefties, lots of power. On the road, bottom 10 team, second highest K rate. And over the last month, this is the only team worse than the A's over the last month. No team has a higher K rate. But do you think you could guess who the worst team over the last month was?
No.
The Rangers.
Okay, I would not have. I didn't.
When I saw it, I was equally surprised. I was doing a video for Underdog, and I had a Dylan Cease higher in the mix. They go higher and lower instead of over and low, you know. But I was like, man, A's have been terrible just across the board. But the Rangers just terrible. Anyway, Cease, even though he hasn't been amazing lately, he has a top 8 K rate in the league. He has the same xFIP as Zach Wheeler. So, I mean, what are we doing here?
He looks great. I mean, the A's are next level atrocious. Not that I tend to look at like home road splits for this kind of stuff, but it is a little appealing to see that Oakland has a 28% strikeout rate on the road this season, 83 WRC plus, third worst of any team that has played on the road. They're running up against Dylan Cease, fantastic strikeout guy. A's have a sub 3 implied total, one of the 2 worst spots between them and Chicago. I don't think the 10-3 is all that problematic of a price tag. He's my most exposed pitcher. He's my second most exposed pitcher. He's the most expensive pitcher. He's the highest projected pitcher from an ownership perspective. And I think he deserves every single bit of that. The ceiling here is massive. I mean, we're talking about a guy that, what's his strikeout prop? 7.5 is my guess.
8.5 over, under's juice. But last I looked, he had a 8.5 strikeout prop.
FanDuel has it 8.5 minus 152 to the under. I have them projected for 7.8. So I feel pretty good about where I'm at from a strikeout prop perspective for Cease. It's just math. That's a massive number. That means hold on. This will be the interesting one to see. Do they have alternate strikeouts? Yes. Cease 10 plus strikeouts is plus 210.
There you go. Man.
You're going to need him if he does that, and that happens like a third of the time.
That is a big number.
Yeah.
It is. It's a third of the time. Implied probability is 32% at plus 210.
Minus 166 for 8 plus.
Oh, for 8 plus. I'm sorry. I thought I was going to say that doesn't make sense. Yeah, for 8 plus.
It's just
minus
like
1, right. Right.
You're talking 55 to 60% chance of 8 plus, third of a chance at 10 plus. Like, those are big numbers.
Einsteinium said, Oakland, it feels like they always destroy good chalk pitching. Yeah, I mean, it's the truth is there's a lot of people that that have been, trying to fade the chalky, expensive pitchers. And it's worked out in a lot of senses lately. We've seen a lot of good chalk pitching get blown up. First ones that comes to mind recently was Chris Sale.
Yeah.
It's also a lot easier to only remember the times that the good pitching gets blown up and not when they have 40 DraftKings points.
It's like poker. You always remember bad beats. You're less likely to remember wins.
Right. All the time.
Yeah.
The question just becomes what is your reasoning for getting off Cease? If it's hey, I think because of ownership, it makes sense, then okay. I will say though, that the Sims factors in price, ownership, leverage. That's the entire purpose of the Sims tool. And
Yeah.
I'm still getting 71% exposure to Dylan Cease. So despite that ownership that he's getting, my exposure is still north of 70 right now.
Yeah. The real problem is that the next closest guy to him is Logan Gilbert, $500 cheaper. And if you want to say that you like Logan Gilbert a lot today too, that, I'm right around the field for him. But it's not like Logan Gilbert is a dramatically different ownership guy. Cease is a little bit higher, but Logan Gilbert is still projected for 37% ownership. So you're not getting that discount at the top in a major way for ownership. And I think that's really the bigger piece. If Logan Gilbert were a little bit cheaper or even more, honestly, more expensive and significantly less owned, that would start looking like an interesting pivot. But now, if Logan Gilbert's already pulling that much ownership, I don't feel as bad about getting to Cease. Not to mention, 32% K rate over the last year and a half to righties, even 24 to lefties is fine. Doesn't really give up all that much power, right around a 150 X ISO to both hands. This just looks great for Cease. So I'm fascinated to find out how he ruins it.
Dude, you're going to appreciate this. I'm looking and I'm going, man, I have a lot of Dylan Cease at a, pretty expensive price point. I also have a lot of Chris Paddock against Colorado, so it balances things out.
He is my most exposed pitcher.
Okay. How much?
More than you.
I have 66% Paddock.
84.
It's a lot. Great spot.
He's the best overall pitcher today, if we're talking about price.
Yeah, as far as salary goes, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw his K prop. You want to take a guess?
5.5.
6.5.
How much juice to the under?
My only minus 137, 136.
Okay. Well, I like him even more than I'm under projecting that line, and he's still my most exposed pitcher.
For what it's worth, I think on FanDuel minus or under 6.5 strikeouts at minus 136. I think that's actually a pretty good bet. We have it as a positive EV bet on Odd Shopper right now, but also when you look at the disparity in the juice across all of these other books, there's a lot of minus 160s, 167s out there. Circa has it at minus 155, Penny at minus 149. I know Penny isn't the sharpest for baseball, but they're not awful. Caesar's minus 148. So FanDuel's really on an island there. 7 strikeouts for Paddock. I know he's done it, but that's still a big number for Chris Paddock.
It helps to face the Colorado Rockies outside
No
of
doubt about it.
Those guys are not great.
No doubt about it. I'm just saying that I think from a betting perspective, unless you're getting just phenomenal odds on that over 6.5, under looks like a strong play. It doesn't mean a thing for DFS though.
No, well, no matter what you want to quibble on there, the fact that he's 7,100 against Colorado is the real problem here. Exactly. I mean, I have him as, I assume we do too. I don't have it even close. He's the 3rd highest projected pitcher for me, and he's the 8th most expensive pitcher. That just doesn't compute.
No, I would think just as far as projections go, it would have to be Cease, Gilbert, Paddock.
That's how I have it. I assume we do too. I can't imagine we have anybody ahead of Paddock.
And then without looking, let me just take a guess. Rodon 4th.
I have Fede 4th right now, but I could easily see that changing.
Oh, Eric Fede 4th isn't crazy, actually. So Rodon 5th.
No. 6th. Yeah. I have him and Barrios basically tied.
Okay. Yeah. So that, right. A lot of those guys I think are going to be closely grouped together for sure.
Yeah. Rodon, Barrios, and Fede for me are all within 5/10 of a point. So
Without
whereas Cease and Gilbert are on a different planet.
without saying without telling me what team, do you have any I'm looking at my stack exposures right now, and one of them is just insane.
Yeah.
Do you have any that are just skewed heavily towards the top for you?
I have 3 teams at 14% aggregate or higher. I have like 3 giant stands.
Now, for what it's worth, when I ran the Sims, I did 10% payout. So that'll change things a little bit, right? So 10% to first,
Yeah.
5,000 field. I have 52% Mariner stacks right now, 5-man Mariner stacks.
Not one of the teams that I have.
But the more, yeah, you have a decent amount of Eric Fede, who has been decent. But man, when I looked at it and I said, oh, now I get it. Those Seattle price tags are really low.
Yeah, we have them
Outside of,
third in top value.
yeah, outside of Julio Rodriguez, and of course things will change throughout the day. I'm not saying when I run this again at 720 that, I'm going to have that much, but the more I look at it, the more it does begin to at least make some sense because they are really discounted. Also, Josh, there aren't a lot of great stacks. Like, yes, you have the Yankees.
No.
Seth, it's not like Seth Lugo has just been trash. He's been actually pretty good.
I
Seth
hope he
Lugo's
is
been
trash today.
what?
I hope he is trash today.
I'm not saying the Yankees are a bad spot, but I'm saying when you look across all of these stacks, when you look across all of the matchups, everybody continues to wait for the other shoe to drop on Colin Rea. He's been fine. He if nothing else, he doesn't give up a ton of power. Just looking, and even Kyle Harrison, who gets banged around by righties, that's in San Francisco, a really pitcher friendly park. I suppose like San Diego against Joey Estes, but Joey Estes hasn't been bad. He's been fine. So that's all I'm saying. I don't think there are that many spots where you look at it and you just go, I got to get a ton of them. I think the most popular, though, is for sure going to be Minnesota against Dakota Hudson.
They are my least exposed team.
But I think the field's going to have a ton of them.
They are number 1 in ownership at 13.5%. And I'm not shocked to see that. We have them top 2 or we have them second in top stack. I have them third. They're the team that I'm running away from an ownership perspective. That's my way to get different, is to dodge the chalk of the Twins bats.
We have them tied for first in top stack probability.
Yeah, it's scary. 14% was what I grabbed whenever we ran it. I don't know if we ran it again.
Yeah,
that's a big number, and they look good. And Dakota Hudson is ass at pitching, but this is going to be the way that I try to. If I'm going to be eating so much chalk and Chris Paddock and Dylan Cease and Logan Gilbert, then I have to get different somewhere. And the Minnesota Twins bats appear to be the spot that I'm doing that.
One of the questions too that I wanted to get to you and to you guys watching as well. You guys provide your insight and comments in chat. I'm always reading them. I look across this slate and I go, there's a lot of pitchers that have been good, but are they this good? Like, does it last? Now, you and I know, like, what an odd sport where it's unlike basketball, where basketball, you don't just expect a guy that's been in the league for a bunch of years to turn good and stay good, right? Like,
right.
Those adjustments, yes, you can improve your shooting, but you're not going to just get dramatically more athletic. You're not going to,
gotta get on the drugs, man.
What's that?
You gotta get on that TRT, baby.
Right. And with football, sure, you can, become a more polished route runner and this and that, but you don't see a guy in his 5th year and if you do, it's rare, just become great.
Yeah.
Pitching's different. You do see guys just come out of nowhere and you go, whoa, he's good now? And am I wrong to say that we've seen a ton of that this year?
Probably not, but I'm not there yet. I'm like 2 weeks away from being able to answer that question and be like, yes, I agree with you.
So, all right, let's work through this then. A little experiment here, a little thought experiment. More so just, on the fly research. Let's look at the guys like Lugo and Rea and Estes and Fede. look at some of these expected numbers and see, are they as good as they've looked this year? Because there might just be some spots that we can target that aren't getting a lot of ownership because these guys on paper have been very good.
Joey Estes is not that guy.
No, I think he's the probably the worst pitcher on the slate.
He has the lowest
Other than
projection
Hudson.
for me.
What's that?
I have Estes with a lower projection than Dakota Hudson.
Yeah.
Not by much. I mean, they're both sub 10, which is ass. So we can go either direction there. Obviously, Dakota Hudson sucks. I think Joey Estes sucks. Colin Ray is the interesting one that we could probably talk about at least a little bit here. I am aggressively against it. I have a pretty sizable Blue Jays stand. They're also third in ownership, so it's not crazy. Ray over the past year and a half, 221x ISO to lefties. Not all that problematic against the Blue Jays. You got to worry about basically Dalton Varsho and what I have as the projected lineup. The other lefties that I have are Spencer Horwitz, who doesn't have a ton of pop, and Kevin Kiermaier, who doesn't have a ton of pop. So from a power perspective for Toronto, for Colin Rea, that's not so bad. Not exactly an illustrious strikeout guy, though.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He's never the type of guy that you're looking to really roster in DFS, but he hasn't. Stacking against them has not really bared fruit this year either.
Has he been solid?
He hasn't been bad. No, he hasn't been bad. Just like from an ERA perspective, 3.5 ERA, not a lot of strikeouts. He's had, a couple games where he's gotten lit up. I think he had like a 3-homer and a 2-homer game earlier in the year. But aside from that, he's gone up in some tough matchups and kind of just, limited that. I'm not saying Colin Rea is good for what it's worth. And I think Toronto is a perfectly reasonable spot to want to get to today. But I don't know what really differentiates a lot of these teams from each other. I would unquestionably cap exposure on Seattle if I was getting that much later in the day.
Sure.
Only because I think it's too flat from like a pitching talent perspective once you get past the top several handful of guys.
And for the record, I have Seattle. I'm basically neutral to them. I have 7%.
Okay.
We're projecting just shy or just under 8%. So it's not like I don't have them. I just don't have the same sort of stand that I have on the Yankees, the Blue Jays, and the Royals.
Man, I look at Eric Fedde's numbers. 148x ISO against lefties. That's excellent. 302x WOBA. I think 310 is about average. So you're talking slightly above average. 285x WOBA against righties, 139x ISO. Those numbers are, man, pull them up real quick.
I got it here.
Look how similar the actual WOBA and ISO are to the expected rates. It's right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the lefty one is spot on. The righty one, he's been a little lucky, but even 140x ISO isn't like, that's still good.
Right. And still a 303 BABIP.
Yeah. He doesn't miss a ton of bats, but that's probably not all that bad. And Seattle limits righty power. It's not exactly a boon to lefty power, limits runs. It's a good spot for Fede. I actually wish I had a little bit more.
The more we look at this, the more interested I am in him. I love right-handed. I love decent right-handed pitching against Seattle. They just strike out at an absurd clip.
Yeah.
He's been getting strikeouts. What's the ownership discrepancy between Eric Fede and Paddock? That's the question, because they're not far off in price.
39 to 26. Paddock is the 39.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, Paddock's the fourth most popular guy. We have 5 guys that are 20% or more, and then everybody else is unowned.
You mean
Cease, it's Gilbert.
Most popular.
Fourth most popular, but yes.
Sorry,
yeah. Cease, Gilbert, Fede, Paddock, and Spaghetti are all 20% or higher.
Yes. Spencer Arrighetti, 6,500, really cheap against San Francisco. I have no real issues with that. Good park. There's nothing about that San Francisco team that's particularly scary. 15% swinging strike rate against righties, 11.5% against lefties. I think he's fine.
I'm aggressive. I only have one share of him, and which is not surprising. If I have 84% of Chris Paddock, there's not going to be a ton of room to get to Spaghetti at the bottom at 6,500 here. The spot's good, but he's just wildly uneventful.
I have a decent amount of him. I really do think Eric Fedde I have very little of. I would like to get more Eric Fedde today. That's a guy
Same.
I'm very underweight on and not quite sure. Well, obviously I know why, because I have so much Seattle. I wonder if I were to cap Seattle, if I would get more Eric Fedde.
I would imagine you do.
Or do I just get a shit ton of Paddock, which I already have?
I think you'd end up getting a little bit more of Fede for sure.
I'm going to try
Because
it.
at the very least, you're definitely like, if you're going to have that much Seattle, you cannot get Eric Fedde. Like that just, you're immediately blocked out. He cannot show up. So getting rid of that is just going to naturally pull him up. But I think he looks good. He looks sneaky. Well, as sneaky as a 26% owned dude on a 6-game slate could look.
Yeah, of course. He's still going to get pitching's good on this slate. It's shockingly good because I don't really understand some of the price points.
Well, I think it's very interesting if you want to be a guy that gets different, because I think Carlos Rodon, Seth Lugo, Jose Barrios are all like pretty significantly underowned.
I wanted to ask you about those guys because they Cease, Paddock, Gilbert, Fedde. I think it's fair to say that on paper, matchup, projection, price point, all of that, right? Forget about ownership for a second. Like those are the best options.
Yeah.
On paper.
And you have pivots there. Like the Jose Barrios pivot from Fede is really interesting to me. A 5-to-1 ownership disparity here is a pretty sizable gap for two guys that I think are pretty similar today.
Agreed. By the way, Dylan Cease on FanDuel, 37% ownership. No one else is above 17%. How comfortable are you going with a pivot there? That's what always intrigues me with FanDuel, because so many of these guys are just getting virtually no ownership, like almost 40% to Cease. I understand that he's the best pitcher on the slate and highest projected. Some of these guys are just entirely unowned.
It gets weird on FanDuel just because you could only have one. So there's a lot less opportunity cost for you. We see Cease 15% to be a top scoring pitcher, 37%. I mean, like you just naturally want to go to Logan Gilbert there since he's half of the ownership of Cease, but very comparable top 1 percentage. It's pretty easy to want to go to Gilbert or Paddock on FanDuel over Cease if you're especially if you're depending on your stack. If you're going to the chalk stack on FanDuel as your primary, then not having Cease and grabbing one of those other two guys makes a ton of sense to me.
Yeah. Also, I think with those top 3 guys though in ownership, where it's Cease, Gilbert, Paddock, and then it falls off a cliff, you have to consider the win equity there too, right? On FanDuel, like the win and what the fuck is it called?
Quality start.
I just lost it. Wow.
Never had it.
The win and the quality start. You have 3 teams that are minus 200 favorites or more. All 3 of those, dude. San Diego, Seattle, Minnesota, all 200 or more money line favorites.
Yeah, 60. I got 67% win chance for Minnesota, 66 for the Padres, 65 for Seattle. Big numbers.
Right. Which I think, hurts Fede there a little bit. But
one of the A's, White Sox, or Rockies are going to have like a good offensive day today, and that's gross.
It's going to happen.
Yeah. Like one of those teams mathematically is probably going to score like 7 runs today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, think about it. Like, even if you parlayed those 3 the 3 favorites to win, what
plus 140.
Hold on, I'll tell you right now. Probably longer than that.
Twins, Mariners, Padres.
Probably longer than that. I'd say closer to like plus 200.
If I take it from FanDuel, it's plus 208.
Okay. DraftKings plus 199.
Okay.
My point is that just expecting all of these teams to win,
Yeah. No, I mean, what that's telling you is that like one of them is going to lose outright.
Mm-hmm.
One
People,
of Chris Paddock, Logan Gilbert, and Dylan Cease is probably going to have a bust of a start.
it's gonna be
I hope it's Gilbert because he's the
yeah,
guy I have the least of.
so do I. So do I. Because the amount of Cease and Paddock I have is wild.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Tristan said best single entry team stack for FanDuel.
Whichever one you want.
Well, I will say right now, Minnesota, very popular. Wow. Minnesota's flirting with 20% ownership as a stack on FanDuel. That's wild. If I was looking for like an off the radar one, if you were going for it, and I know Greg talks about this a lot, like finding a kind of pedestrian pitcher that's popular and stacking the team against them, particularly in single entry where you don't have to beat out as much of the field. I'm not sure where I'd go today. Like, I still don't love Oakland or the White Sox. Like, pretty brutal spots. Still good pitchers on the other side. Seattle's only getting 9% there. Probably be Colorado against Paddock, if I'm being completely honest.
Crazy person.
Well, I'm just saying, if I were to go to one of those spots, you don't really have that many options.
No, I mean, I'd be looking at Minnesota, the Yankees, and Toronto.
Also, Paddock does allow power.
He does.
His home run, I bet his home runs per 9 is close to 1.5.
I mean, 200 x ISO to lefties, 190 to righties.
That's, yeah.
Those are big numbers.
Yeah. Oh, I nailed it. Plus or 1.52 home runs per 9 this year.
There we go.
39% ground ball rate, 13% home run to fly ball rate, 11% swinging strike rate, which is fine.
Yeah. If I'm on FanDuel, I would imagine Yankees or Toronto are going to be that choice.
I agree. I was just throwing out like the cheap, really completely unowned options there. Are you getting any other pitchers today?
No, not really. I mean, 70% Cease and 84% Chris Paddock. That's 154 total. So that's 75% of my pitching. 32% to Logan Gilbert. That's 186 of my 200 between those three guys. I just don't have. I only have 5 guys. I have 12% of Eric Fede and 1 random spaghetti share.
So wait, are you not getting Rodon and Barrios?
Not a single share of Rodon, Lugo, Barrios, Harrison, Estes, Rea, or Hudson.
Yeah, me neither. I love Jose Barrios. I think he's a really good pitcher, but he has an 18.9% K rate this year. He's really more of an efficiency arm. Like he's not, I'm not saying he's Marcus Stroman. He doesn't have a 58% ground ball rate, but he just doesn't get barreled a ton. He doesn't give up a ton of pop. He's just good, but he's not a great DFS pitcher. For what it's worth, he's only 8K, but
yeah,
I would probably rather, if I had to go to one of those, it would probably just be Carlos Rodon.
that seems like the easiest thing to do. That's for sure. I get the Royals a lot, so that ends up being a problem for me. I wish this game was in New York, honestly. Then it would be a very different story. I wouldn't,
Yeah.
I mean, look, I have Rodon where he should be 14% owned and he's 7. Like this dude's under owned today.
24% K rate. Kansas
Yeah, I
City.
mean, we have him 14% top 2 pitcher, 7% owned.
So okay, so yeah, positively, really positively leveraged. It's just funny. This Kansas City team they're not just like a rollover type matchup as they were before. They're good.
Yeah, and they don't strike out all that frequently either.
No. Bobby Witt's just ridiculous.
I have so much of that dude every single day, and I'm cool with it.
Yeah. Kansas City against lefties, top 8 in WOBA, 114 WRC plus. That's 8th as well. And wow, 18.8% K rate. Yeah, that's a red flag right there.
It is. It is. I'd be way more likely to go to Barrios than I would to Rodon.
I think I would too. And you're getting almost $1,000 discount.
Yeah.
But I just don't see. Look, this is probably one of these days I'll take my lumps if I end up being wrong on these chalky pitchers. But it's so tough to look at like the 2.7 total for the White Sox, or the 2.9 for Oakland, the 3.2 or whatever it is for Colorado, and a $7,100 Paddock with a 6.5 K prop.
How do you get away from that? I don't see it.
Can we look at some of these pitching outs props on these guys?
Let's do it. Who you want to see?
I mean, I bet Paddock's at 18 or 17.5. Yeah, 17.5 minus 117 to the over. So you're getting him projected for around 6 innings.
Yeah.
6 innings, 6 strikeouts
at 7,100. Against a Colorado team that has a projected lineup with only 3 guys north of a 300 WOBA.
Yeah. Earn runs 2.5. The under is minus 150.
It just looks so that like the price is just so wrong for him. He could be, if he were 8,100, he would still be a good play today.
Yeah, right.
This price is totally broken. I mean, he should be 8,800 like Carlos Rodon.
He should.
He would be lined up perfectly then. But he's not. He's 7,100, which does not make a ton of sense.
Where's what's Gilbert at? I mean, he's probably 18.5, right?
I actually don't think that he is.
Oh, okay.
I think he's like right at 18.
Yeah, okay. Over the prop though, I meant is 18.5.
Sure.
With juice to the under. But again, strikeouts 6.5, juice to the small juice, I think, to the under. That's why when you look at Dylan Cease, like that's just why I'm going to be getting a lot more of him than Logan Gilbert today. 8.5 K prop.
Yeah. Even if you just want to say like it's 7.5 juice to the over and make it sound lower.
Sure.
Like it's still a big, big, big number.
Well, you said it, minus 166 on 8+ strikeouts.
Yeah.
You don't get that all that often. So yeah.
No.
Einsteinium had a super chat. Do you guys have interest in Rodon or Harrison? All right, so we talked about Rodon. No, I honestly don't in Harrison. If you pull up, and Josh, you can pull it up now because I'm going off the top of my head and I can do the same. But I was looking earlier today. His expected rates and his power numbers against righties are not very, like, essentially everything against righties for him has been pretty bad. I think he's only striking righties out at like a 14% clip. I saw some real red flags with Harrison.
Yeah, I have zero interest in Harrison.
Yeah. If anything, I have interest in the Houston Bats.
Yeah, they're second in ownership right now, so I'm fading them.
Oh, are they?
Yeah. But I mean, Harrison has a 210x ISO to righties. It's gonna be 8 righties in this Houston order. The park will certainly help, but I see absolutely no reason to go to Kyle Harrison.
And even the left, like Tucker being out of the lineup is a big deal because he is a lefty. Yeah, he's great. Bregman's probably going to be out too, so there's that. But I mean, Alvarez is a lefty. He's got a 415 WOBA against lefties.
Yeah, not exactly a great spot.
It's a good park.
Yeah.
I don't see why. Like, all right, put it this way. You have Harrison bookended by Fede and Paddock, and I just like both of them so much more.
Completely agree. Yeah, Harrison is like the guy that has the least amount of opportunity to end up in one of my lineups.
Yeah. I think the lowest ceiling in all of those three respective spots as well.
Yeah. I think he's the worst combination of price and what you need out of him today, which is probably part of the reason that he's 4% owned.
Yeah.
I mean, Houston just doesn't strike out. They're like anti-strikeouts. You need Kyle Harrison today to throw like 8 innings.
With the lack of strikeout upside?
Yeah. Like he's just got to be efficient. And like, I don't like betting on that.
What's his K prop? It's
Three
either
and a
3.5 juice to the over or 4.5 juiced heavy to the under.
It's got 3.5 to the over is my guess.
Yeah, it is. But like I said, heavy juice to the over on 3.5. Still,
I got him. I got it at 3.9.
That's a shitty number.
Yeah. 16 and a half outs.
What's that?
16 and a half outs, 6+ strikeouts, plus 285.
And obviously, look, we're not saying like Vegas odds are everything here, but Fede is 5.5 over at -154.
Yeah.
And Paddock 6.5 under, but still like 5. And so both of those guys are projecting for around 6Ks, we could say. I think that's fair to say, right? Whereas Harrison's projecting for around 4.
Yeah.
A little under 4.
Yeah, I have no interest there.
Not great. Jake mentioned, let me get your thoughts on this, Josh. San Francisco against old Spaghetti.
Not a team I have. They're 9th in ownership right now out of the 12. So that's relatively low. I have a giant gap in top value odds for them. We have them 4th. I have them 12th. I hate the park. I think it really just limits any sort of power that you're looking for off of Spaghetti. Not helpful there. He doesn't really give up much power, certainly to lefties. 132 x ISO to lefties, 172 to righties, but that's also backed up with a 29% K rate. So he can mow some of those dudes down. There's certainly some strikeouts in the Giants lineup, especially at the top of the order. If Helio Ramos is hitting leadoff, that's a 30% projected K rate and a sub 300 WOBA. The spot looks a lot better for Spaghettis, but he's already 20% owned. I just don't need that.
He is. And for what it's worth, some of like the prop market looks good on him.
Yeah.
Looks pretty good.
Yeah, but 15 and a half outs, like it needs to go a very specific way because it does not appear that he's going to be going very deep into this game.
Agreed. Oh, by the way, dude, we did our first Hall of Fame since we started the new one.
Yeah.
Jordan and I recorded it on Friday. Already 2 people in the Ring of Honor. All right, with a
Love
60K baseball win, 20K baseball win just in the first week.
Love it.
Good stuff, man.
That's fun.
Stochastic.com/HOF. You got the bronze, silver, gold tier now, depending. And it's not just how much you win. That we thought that wouldn't be fair. So it's how many times you get into the Hall of Fame. So if you're repping the avatar, Jordan can show you. If you're repping the avatar, there's 6 of them there. Pick whichever one you want. You can go with the old school one or with any of the 5 new ones. Use them wherever it is you play. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more, and tweet us your wins at Stochastic HOF on Twitter. Hopefully a nice little message in there as well. Yeah, you're getting either a free month of single sports sims, a free month plus a free week of another sport, free month of everything, literally everything, $550 value, or you get the custom Hall of Fame ring engraved on the case and everything for you to commemorate the big win, which I think is a pretty neat added feature there. Or you just want to get the Sims. I mean, that might just be the move for some people. You're like, let me just.
Should be.
Yeah. It's like, let me just get the tools now. And then I don't have to, trudge along trying to get it for free. Do a week. Try it for a week.
Yeah.
It's
the best, man. It's the absolute best if you want to get better.
It just makes building, particularly for baseball, in my opinion. I mean, all of the sports, obviously, but it's factoring in all of the correlation, the leverage, the ownership. It's simming out the ROIs. You put it best. Like, you can still make your own decisions here, but run it first. Run it unadulterated first. See what gives you. And like I said, if I were to get this exposure, I'd be capping some of that Seattle for sure.
Yeah.
And probably throwing a bit of a boost to Eric Fede because I think he's a little bit under-owned compared to the rest of the field of pitching. But like, just so many different ways you can just build great lineups, dump them straight in with CSV. And then the next day, or, use the post-contest simulator to see how your lineups actually were. Not how they actually performed, but if they were actually plus EV, good lineups. You do it every single day. You use the
Every
post
morning is it's the first thing I do. Sometimes it's even that night if we're lucky enough to get that stuff up early.
Yeah.
It's if you're not going back and checking to see like what you did and trying to improve that kind of stuff, you're setting yourself up to fail.
Link in the description and in the chat. Try a week, try a month. It doesn't have to be Sims either. We have the lineup generator at a phenomenal price. Anyone looking to get in. And then all the data and all of the tools. But Sims comes with everything, by the way, not just the Sims, but that's where you'll be spending the majority of your time. Check it out. If you have any questions, hit us up. And join the Discord, pop in, say hello, or just hit me up in DMs if you have any questions. You're looking for help. I think we covered most of the bats or the hitters. Last thing I want to do with you and you guys listening now or after the fact. And Andy said, today's the perfect slate for the Sims to do the magic. Yeah. Particularly when there's just like no clear cut stuff going on outside of a few pitching options. If you were to go like back to DraftKings here, we're talking DraftKings for a moment. Are there any other spots that jump off the page, or not even jump off the page, but look like good leverage spots to you for bats on a day where we know Minnesota is going to be really popular? We know the Yankees and Toronto will probably be pretty popular. Any of those spots?
I mean, the Yankees to me are underrepresented. I don't know if that's just because of their pricing, because they're fourth in ownership, and I think they're the best team that you can get to today, given their ownership. If they're going to be like, what is it? 9.8, 13.4, like 4% less owned than Minnesota. I just prefer the Yankees side of it. Like in that spot, the only downside to me is the park. It's not like I want to attack Seth Lugo. Like I don't think that's the best spot in the world, but 190 x ISO to righties, that certainly doesn't matter to like Aaron. Like Aaron Judge doesn't need a good matchup to go yard, but it's not like Lugo stops power to righties. I think it's a great spot for Judge. Royals Park is all right for righty power. It's lefty power that really dies here. Juan Soto can yank one out of there, and it has no, like the park factor isn't going to matter as much to me. They're going to probably lean a little bit more towards the right-hand side based on the lineup that I'm looking at right now. The Yankees are actually the team that I think is a little underrepresented. If they're going to be fourth in ownership, I think that's too light.
You know what I don't love? And I'm with you on the Yankees too, by the way. Like they're just too good against righties on a slate like this that doesn't, like, you don't have cores. You don't have the Phillies in Philly against the bad pitch. You don't have really any. You said it, there's one team with a total north of 4.5.
Yeah, it's the Twins at 4.8 for my data. We probably have them at like 5 or 5.1.
Yeah, we have them at 5.1.
There you
go. Yeah. The one that I don't love Houston. I mean, Tucker's out of the lineup. He's on the IL. I would be shocked if Bregman's in the lineup. He left yesterday's game and got x-rays on his wrist. They came back clear or clean, but still, it would be surprising if after you get x-rays on your wrist that you play the next day.
You would think, yeah.
I don't have much love for Kyle Harrison. I don't plan on playing him either. But at the same time, it's not a good park.
Nope.
There's just a lot of things I don't love about Houston today. It is a watered down lineup. The back of that lineup isn't great. And they're pulling the second most stack ownership of any team behind only Minnesota.
Yeah, I'm a bit under the field here, much like Minnesota. I'm finding myself getting different with bats and eating all of the pitching chalk.
Okay.
Because I think the pitching is more unassailable than the hitting today.
Makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. Tough to want to get crazy with like an Oakland or a White Sox or a Rockies or any of those.
Yeah, I don't. That's a real tough sell today. Not that it can't happen.
Maybe Milwaukee at home against Barrios.
I have some. I'm right around the field, but they're 7th in ownership at 9%. That's exactly what I have.
Yeah. I have a good amount of Yankees right now.
Yeah, they're my number 1. Yankees, Blue Jays, Royals are my 3.
Seattle, Toronto, San Diego, Yankees. Now that I suppressed that Seattle exposure a little bit.
I like it.
Yeah, man. All right.
I'm pumped for this slate.
Me too. This is a good one.
It is. It is.
Definitely a good one. All right. Oh, and by the way, you see it up top. You guys should be on Underdog because it's
Yep.
the best place to be when it's any time of the year, particularly leading up to football with the millions and millions of best ball prizes and contests. But 50% match up to $250. It's an instant match too. It's not like a playthrough or trickle bonus or any like a drip bonus. None of that. Like it's just there. Daily drafts for any sport. Pick'em contests up to 20x your entry fee, particularly if you're in a non-legal betting state. And fantastic best ball, biggest best ball contest out there. Just some amazing stuff they're doing all of the time. So if you're not there yet, link in the description and in chat, 50% match up to 250, which is a huge bonus there. And it's instant. Drops straight into your account. Follow Josh at Josh Engleman, me at Lafayette_D. Shout out to Jordan for producing this one. Yeah, this should be fun tonight. It's a great slate. We'll be back for Live Before Lock. And then we'll see you back here tomorrow. Is game 3 tomorrow or Wednesday? Wednesday, right?
Wednesday. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll be back Wednesday morning for NBA strategy.
I hate how they put 2 days in between these games. I get it going from one stadium to the venue to the next.
Yeah.
But I really wish the games that were back to back in the same stadium were just take a day off.
Agreed.
But we'll be here for it.
We will.
Appreciate you guys. We'll see you strategy show tomorrow morning. Peace.
Go Yankees.